Okay. And yeah, welcome. Some of you are new to me and some of you are familiar faces. So it's just always nice. If you don't want to turn on your camera, that's okay, but you can type in the chat. We can still interact by typing in the chat. So go ahead and open the little chat box. You can click on the three dots. If you don't see your chat box, just mouse over the bottom. Hi, Paulina. And you can click that, and then the first one should say chat. Click on that, and you can type your questions there if you don't want to speak, or if you don't want your camera on, you can just say it through your text, through your words. Okay, so amazing. We're going to get started in just a few moments. I know several people said they were coming, but I got some messages, life happens, they need the replay. So be sure to ask me, and if you need, if you're watching the replay and if you have questions, I can still answer them. So let me know. So today is our breath and posture workshop. This is our first workshop for 2024, which is amazing because breath and posture sounds so simple. And they sound so basic, yet they really are the number one dysfunction I see with my clients, which might seem surprising, but actually, if you think about our modern day world and how much we sit at a computer and how everything is so convenient and right at the tip of our fingertips, at the snap of our fingers, it's kind of not surprising because we sit a lot and we're not challenging our bodies through organic movement, right? Like back in the day, people had to work to get their food or work to build their caves and houses and that kind of thing. So they're moving their bodies, which challenges their breath. But these days, we just don't have to do that. So it just takes that much more effort and awareness and mindfulness to do those things, which can be tough because it feels like, why would I do that when I can just snap my fingers? But the thing is, our bodies haven't caught up and probably won't evolve the way modern day technology has. So we still have to be mindful and address our basic foundational muscle groups, such as our breathing muscles and our posture, meaning the shape of our spine, really affect the function of that breathing vessel. Okay, so I do hope that you guys in my group, Redefining Aches and Aging for Women, are enjoying these live workshops. This is just a little peek behind the curtains of the coaching that goes on inside my program. If you don't know yet, I do run a program called the Move with Ease Method, where I help women, mostly 40 plus, but I welcome all ages. But I'm finding that I'm attracting, women in their second half of life who really just want to start relieving their aches and pains and start living their lives freely, confidently, and moving with ease. So if you're watching live, or you're catching the replay and you've got a question, ask me, because even if I can't answer it in today's workshop, because today we will focus on breath and posture, it might like inspire me to host a workshop on your questions. So be sure to ask me. Don't be shy. This is why I created the group. Like truly, this is my passion, mindful movement, to help women, you guys, live freely and redefine this idea that aging means, feeling limited, or that we have to wake up feeling stiff, sore, and achy. So please let me know, and I would be happy to connect and possibly host a workshop on it. All right, so let's talk about, let's make this, what do you guys think? And you can just unmute yourself and tell me, or type in the chat. What do you think first becomes dysfunctional? Do you think it's someone's breath, or is it the posture? Which one do you think starts to Carol, you look like you want to say something.
Oh, I think it might be the posture, because I think poor posture then restricts proper breathing. That's my thought.
Amazing. Thank you. Does anyone else have a thought? It can be the same as Carol's. It could be different. There's no wrong answer, really. Don't be shy. I'll give you guys another 2 seconds. Well, I think, Carol, you're on the right track. And yes, basically, when we don't have neutral spine, which is good posture, and I'll talk about neutral spine in a second. That could be a whole other workshop, really. But when we don't have good posture, i.e. neutral spine, it's really hard to access our breathing vessel to its full functional capacity. And when we can't breathe in full functional capacity, it sends a signal actually to our brains that we're in distress. It may not be like a big high signal, like a bear is chasing you type signal, but it could just be a low grade baseline, low grade stress signal. Okay. And then that feeds into more poor posture. So actually it becomes a vicious cycle. Does that make sense? Let me know if you have a question or if that doesn't make sense. But let me say that again. When we have poor posture, so we're not in our neutral spine, which I'm going to talk about in a second, it doesn't allow our breathing vessel, so your lungs and your diaphragm, your pelvic floor, it's part of it, okay? Talk about in that set. Your breathing vessel cannot function at its full capacity. And then when that happens, because you're not breathing and having this ease in breath and the volume, it sends a signal to our body, our nervous system, that something's wrong. And we have like there's a signal that's like alert, alert. It might not be really high, but even if it's low grade, it's continuously like making us overproduce cortisol and other stress hormones and stuff like that. Won't get into the nitty gritty of the physiology, but you get the picture. And then that feeds into posture because we tend to, when we're stressed, tense, fetal position, right? Like fight or flight freeze, like turtling, fetal position. And then that makes it more hard to breathe. And then it just becomes this vicious cycle. So yes, Carol is correct. Usually it starts with, because of modern day world, right? Our poor posture. It could happen the other way, but I do see more of the trigger is that the awareness of posture is not there. And then it slowly over time becomes poor breathing function. Poor breathing function feeds into more poor posture, and there goes the vicious cycle. So let's talk about neutral spine, and we'll do it together because I think it's very important to feel it in your own body. So if you're seated, actually, let's all sit, and then we'll do it again in standing. So let's sit, and I want you to find a way to sit with your feet flat, your knees sort of at 90 degrees, doesn't have to be perfect, your hips sort of at 90 degrees, so your femur and your trunk is at 90, and your hands are just gently on your lap, okay? And when we say neutral spine, oh, I thought I turned off waiting room, but that's okay, here we go. Hello, if you're just joining, we're talking about neutral spine right now. So if you're looking at yourself from profile, you want to feel like your spine looks like a mild S-shaped curve, okay? So you don't look like a C shape. You don't look like a C shape this way. You just have this gentle S-shaped curve. So meaning your lower back, we call this lumbar. There's a lumbar extension a little bit. So it's not dumped back. It's not dumped forward, it's just sort of gently in the middle there. So can you kind of feel that in your own body? Sometimes it helps to rock your hips back and forth just to kind of feel, where's that middle? This is all the way back. This is all the way forward. Here's my middle, okay? And then your upper back, where your bra would hit, sports bra, whatever bra, maybe you don't wear a bra, just imagine where your scapula are. There's a little bit of a hunch. It's not a round hunch, but it's not extended either, right? Because that is the opposite way. There's just like a mild curve this way, really mild. And then your neck looks like a little bit of extension like the bottom. So it's like that. Okay, and just like feel that in your own body for a moment. And if you feel like your shoulders are really rounded, I'm going to talk about shoulders on a different workshop, but can you just pull them down and back a little bit? So it feels like your collarbones are growing longer side to side. Okay, so we're not like this. Okay. And then we're going to close our eyes. I like to put one hand on my heart, one hand on my belly. You can leave your hands on your thighs if that's more comfy. But I just want you to feel how your breath feels now that you've adjusted your posture in neutral spine. So we're just going to breathe in together and breathe out. Try to breathe in and out through your nose. The nose is the main breathing vessel. It slows down the airflow, which is really good for air exchange and keeping the ratio of oxygen and carbon dioxide even. Okay, so really important to try your best to breathe through your nose. Let's do 2 more breaths just like that together. Good, keep breathing. I'm going to talk, you guys keep breathing. Close your eyes if you want. You should feel, now that you've got neutral spine, you should feel that as you breathe in, there's space for your belly to expand a little bit, followed by your rib cages side to side expanding a little bit. And then lastly, your chest puffs just a touch. And then as you exhale, the opposite happens. As you exhale, the chest softens, the rib cages come down and in, and the belly softens in. Again, that's inhale, belly, rib cage, chest, and exhaling, chest softens, rib cages, and belly. And if you don't feel that exactly, it's okay. It just sometimes takes a bit of practice, right? If you haven't been practicing breath, you might feel stiffness in the rib cage. It might feel like there's no belly movement. It comes with practice. So just, do this workshop again, or try to check in with your breath every hour at work. Don't worry if it's not bang on right now, okay? Okay, so why is this happening when we're in neutral spine? Because when we're in neutral spine, we're in that nice posture, our lungs have space to fill up. The diaphragm, which is our main breathing muscle, has space to descend as the air comes in. Our corset muscle, that's one of the inner core muscles. I cannot break that down right now. It would take up like an hour, but that has room to open and fill, right? And the organs have room to descend a little bit and the pelvic floor drops. So actually, when we breathe, there's a lot going on inside our bodies. I'm going to share my screen quickly to show you guys what it actually looks like, because it's really cool. I had an artist draw this for me. So talented. She's done her PhD now, but where did it go? Here it is. She drew this for me and I love it. It's so simple, but it gives you a really good visual of what is happening inside your body. So I'm going to share my screen and you're going to just watch. There we go. So as we inhale, see that top part that's like kind of this dome shape? That's your lung, okay? It's very simplified. So when air comes in, it pushes that diaphragm down. As your diaphragm gets pushed down, this is that corset muscle I was talking about. It's a 4th layer of abs. It expands, which is that belly expansion we feel. The rib cages are going out as we inhale. And see this bottom sling? It's actually not so skinny. If picture 3D, it's lining your whole pelvic floor, pelvis, right? It holds up your bladder, holds up your uterus, holds up your bowel. This is your pelvic floor. So when you inhale, actually, if you're fully relaxed, the pelvic floor comes down. It's stretching. And then as you exhale, there's this suction sort of lift action that's happening because air is exiting. The diaphragm has room to dome up. The abdominals tighten in a touch, right? And then the pelvic floor lifts. Okay. So that's what's happening inside your body, believe it or not. Does anybody have any questions? So you felt what that was like. Remember, if you have questions, you can type in the chat too. You felt that what that was like when we breathed with good posture. Okay, let's do it again. So re-find your neutral spine. Okay, if you need to like rock, if you need to stand up, sit down a few times, just do it. Okay, shake things out. Okay, so in your mind, it would be awesome if you can feel your body in space. If you need a mirror, that's fine. But once you see, okay, I look about neutral, close your eyes and really try to feel your body in space. It's so important to feel your body in space. Okay, this is called mind-body connection. We don't want to just look at our body and be like, okay, like that's where my body is. It's like, can I close my eyes and really sense where my spine is in space? This is really important. Hi, Tanya. Thank you for that comment. So Tanya says, I don't feel my pelvic floor, but I feel the middle. I think this is an issue for me. 100%. Sappy says, my diaphragm gets stuck or sore when I do deep breathing or lie on my back. Okay, that's a really common thing I see both of you guys, not being able to access the pelvic floor or not sure where it is, and the diaphragm feeling stuck. Both of those are a sign of breathing dysfunction. So I hope that you don't feel discouraged, but that now you have an awareness and that you believe and truly understand that you can practice and connect to those areas. You just probably haven't in a long time. And sometimes it really just does take some practice, okay? And reach out to me too if you have like more questions that we can't get through all of it today. Hi, Dawn. I know you're just joining. We are on neutral spine one more time because I want everyone to feel as best as they can a full breath. So we're trying to find that neutral spine, basically the best posture you feel like you can get yourself in. Close your eyes, feel your body in space. Really take the time here to feel your feet in the ground. Feel your knee joint and your hip joint is at 90 degrees. Can you feel that your back is in that mild S-shaped curve, okay? And then from here, can we feel that 3-part breath? As we inhale, the belly sort of expands a little bit, not a big belly breath, just a little bit. And then as you inhale, the rib cages also expand. And then the chest puffs a little bit. Remember, your ribs are all the way up here, so that's just the upper ribs lifting a little bit. And then as you exhale, the opposite happens. The chest softens, rib cages come down and in, and the belly softens in. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, belly, rib cage, chest. And exhale, chest, rib cage, belly. And again, if you didn't feel movement in your pelvic floor or your diaphragm, and you felt like your ribs were really stuck, don't panic. It's okay. What did you feel instead? Let's talk about this for a second. So for example, Sappy, if you don't mind sharing, what did you feel moving instead of the rib cage? Because if your diaphragm's stuck, you probably didn't really feel much movement in your rib cage. Or maybe you didn't feel the belly. Like, can you let me know in the chat? Or you can unmute yourself. And Tanya, you couldn't feel the pelvic floor, but you could feel the middle. Can you tell me if you could feel the chest puff a little bit? Yeah, I'll give you guys a few moments to check in there. Dawn, I'm just gonna mute you, but if you need to chat or ask me a question, you can use the chat or you can unmute yourself, okay? I want this to be interactive. And again, if you wanna leave your camera on, I can give you guys some real-time feedback. It is being recorded though, I should remind everyone again. So, okay, Tanya, that's good. You can feel the belly, ribs, and chest 3 parts. That's awesome. Really, that missing last component is that pelvic floor for you then. But it's really good that you can feel belly, rib cage, chest. Okay, really awesome. Paulina couldn't feel the pelvic floor either. Okay, it's a tough one. Sappy says, I felt a tight rope-like feeling at the bottom of my diaphragm. Okay, so it's, yeah, it sounds like you have some tension in there. And maybe taking that full deep breath right now, your body is resisting it a little bit. There might be a bit of resistance there, which is causing what I think you said is a bit painful, especially if you lie on your back. Because when we lie on our back, we're kind of demanding it to really kind of stretch and be open. So I just want you to be gentle with yourself. It's not all or nothing. If you can take that deep breath, but it feels pretty painful, more than a 3 out of 10, then I would say try 50%. And if that's more tolerable, you're going to work with that. It would be like if somebody had a really tight hamstring and they tried to stretch it. Like that would probably really hurt and likely make the strain worse or tear it, right? So I would say to that person, okay, you can't extend all the way right now, but maybe you soften your knee, you soften your ankle. As long as you feel the stretch in the belly, in your hamstring, you're still doing good. It doesn't have to be that extreme. Same with our breath. If you've had knots in your diaphragm, I don't know what caused it, maybe stress, dysfunctional breathing for months and months, years, I don't know, but you can't go from there to there. So somewhere that's workable in the middle, that's what you want to work with right now. If I feel anything in my pelvic floor, it's the expansion, not retraction. Okay, actually, Tanya, that's good. Expansion is better than a really tight, balled up pelvic floor, actually. So that's very good that you were aware of that. That's pretty cool, actually. Okay, ladies, so now what we're going to do is we're going to sit in bad posture. This is kind of fun. So let's pretend we're, I don't know, typing at work, or you're watching your kids' soccer. I see this so much. I mean, sometimes I'm guilty of it too, but you know those fold-out chairs that everyone brings to soccer because there's no chairs in the soccer domes or the soccer fields? And it's just like this like cheap Canadian Tire fold-out chair, and you sit in it and it's saggy. There's no back support. All the parents are like, some of them are scrolling their phones, and it's just like, wow. So that's what we're gonna channel right now is like slouchy posture. Or if you're like deep in your work and you're just like staring at computer screen, typing. So basically we're in a C shape, okay? So hold your pelvis. I want you to dump it back so it feels like your tailbone is tucked under you. I mean, I know I'm exaggerating, but just do it with me, okay? Like entertain me for a second. Dump it back, round your spine. It almost feels like your rib cage is kissing your hips, right? Like your rib cage is so much closer to your hips right now. Yes, bleachers at swim meets. Yeah, like those aren't very comfy, are they? And then our shoulders are rounded forward, and then we're looking up maybe. So our neck is like, I mean, I don't think I can hold this much longer. It already hurts my neck. So let's just try to take those 5 deep breaths. Ready? So can you feel your breath here is breathing in and out through your nose, sitting in the C-shaped curve. 3 more breaths. And I'd love to know, once you're done 5 breaths in that exaggerated poor posture, how you felt. Feel free to type it or unmute yourself and let's just share.
That was a lot of work.
Yeah. What kind of work, Carol?
It's like I had to think about pushing my back out instead of trying to, my back went out more than my diaphragm or chest expanded. So
Okay.
it was more opening the ribs backwards instead of forwards.
Yeah.
to
Did you
get a
feel
full
good?
breath.
Did you feel good?
No.
And did you feel,
I couldn't get the same fullness of breath that way.
yeah, right. Isn't that so? It's like so cool to feel it on our own bodies. I know we totally exaggerated, but imagine even if it's just a little bit dysfunctional, right? And that compounded over time. Like right now, like I don't think any of us could do that for even like 5 more minutes, right? But even if it's just a tiny bit, like how that would bank over time in a negative way, not the good banking, the bad banking. Let me
You know,
see.
I just wonder if people are sitting like that all day at their desk and working that way, that it must, one of the reasons they may feel exhausted at the end of the day is just because took so much effort to breathe, and they weren't conscious of the fact that that was happening, but it was, you were working at it.
You just taught the lesson. Exactly. No, that's like, that is exactly what happens, right? Like we don't even know, but our body is working so hard. And part of it is like all that trapped, stagnant air at the bottom of our lungs. It's not getting filtered out. And that the bottom of our lungs is where all the capillaries are, where the oxygen and carbon dioxide gets exchanged. And that's not getting filled because we're trapped like that. It's just this like, it's like a stagnant pond, right? Like the ecosystem can't refresh with nutrients. Like that's your body. And then your body's so tired and fatigued and all those negative things. Exactly like Carol just said, you just hit the nail with the head, hit the head with the nail, however you say it. Like, but we just don't know it. So awareness is first. So the fact that you're here, all of you, and you're bringing awareness to your breath, like you're already one step like closer to bringing your health in a positive upward direction. Okay. Can't really expand ribs, says Paulina. Yeah, exactly. You're sitting like this. Your ribs have no room. Basically, it's going to butt up against your hip flexors and your hip bone, and your diaphragm has no space to descend. You can't access your pelvic floor. Look at my back. What's happening to my back muscles when I sit like this? Much shallower breath. Yes, Tanya.
So I'm realizing, I hope it's okay if I unmuted.
Yes, of course.
I'm realizing that it's, I have a pretty expensive chair because this is a big thing for me, but
Yep.
I'm realizing too, it really matters where your line of sight is also, because if you're having to look at something that's not in the proper location, then, you might have this great posture, but you're going to kind of tip towards where you're looking and kind of wreck it all.
Yeah, exactly. Can you fix that, do you think?
I don't know if mine is particularly bad at the moment. It's just that I think like I've worked in offices, where I've got multiple screens for the design stuff. So, not everything is in the same plane or in the same line of sight. Like not everything is where you would want it to be.
Yep.
So I I try to put mine right now in a good spot, but I'm realizing like, yeah, I'm sitting in swim meets. I'm fixing my posture constantly. And I'm like, oh, I'm slouching. I can go back and go back. But then what I'm looking at is, 50 feet down at an angle. And it's kind of, you really have to pay attention to it because you start to go toward what it is that you're looking at. And it's
Yeah.
a challenge.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that it's okay when it's temporary. Like, well, I don't know how much distance your daughter is swimming, but if it's like that 10 minutes or 5 minutes, however long her race is, it's okay. We're not saying like you can't ever not
Oh,
be
it's hours. I mean, she's not swimming for hours, but you're watching all the other kids and all,
right.
it's like hours in that bad place. And it's constantly like trying to get back to neutral, but then the situation doesn't really support that. So it's interesting. I hadn't actually not thought about getting up and leaving and coming back to
And it doesn't mean you get up and leave altogether, but it's even getting up to just move
Walk
your body
around.
in
Yeah.
XYZ, right? Or move your body in like other directions, like, and then go back and sit. It's the same at work. Like, yeah, you have multiple monitors, or maybe you have a setup where you have to look at something, but it's just, taking those frequent breaks and giving your body a break from that one position. And hopefully that one position is as neutral as you can be, but nobody is perfect. And even if you have the most expensive ergonomic chair, like my husband is a biomechanist and he has this like really expensive ergonomic chair in his office down in the basement, but I catch him like totally in C shape, even though he's in that chair. So it's just really about awareness and like just checking in with yourself. Actually putting it in your schedule to check in. I know that seems so silly, but you will forget. We're busy. We will forget. I just want to read this comment here. When I'm lying down for meditation, I find my body is in a more C position. I use a pillow under my knees, but I should be lying in a better position. Yes, Sappy, when you're meditating, set yourself up so your body is in an ideal position so that you can enjoy your meditation, right? So that you can truly be present. I think that a lot of times meditation is so hard because we're not comfortable. Part of it is physical discomfort. Part of it is we're not comfortable with our thoughts. That's very layered, but you want to set yourself up to be as comfortable as you can be, at least physically, with really great access to your breath so that you can help the mind stay focused on the meditation that you're doing. Thank you for all those comments, you guys. So to break it down again, I think I asked what's happening to my back muscles. So we talked about how the ribs can't expand because they're collapsed. The pelvic floor is inaccessible. And it feels like the belly, like the diaphragm is like kind of compressing. It's hard. What's happening to my back muscles here, do you think? There's lots of layers of back muscles in the back. Obviously, got back muscles. But here, what's happening? They're lengthened, right? They're lengthened. What happens when our muscles are in a lengthened position for a really long time? Does anybody know? Just guess. It's okay if you're wrong. What happens when our muscles are in a lengthened position for a prolonged period of time? They don't go back as fast. That's very close.
Well, if it's like, I'm thinking of a rubber band, right? Like you stretch it for long enough, it's just gonna lose its strength to go back to where it was supposed to be, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Overstretched on the one side. Yeah, these are all correct. Cause pain. Yes, these are all correct. You guys are so smart. So when we have muscles like a rubber band that are lengthened for a prolonged period of time, they're weak because now they are not, and they won't go back as fast. And if they do, they're going to cause pain because they haven't been there. And it just becomes this vicious cycle, right? Like if you sit like that and your back muscles are lengthened, but your front muscles are tight and shortened, this muscle is your hip flexor. This is a very common one that I see for people who sit a lot, is that your hip muscle are shortened and tightened in the front. And actually one of your hip flexors attaches to your spine. So then when you go to stand up and straighten out, it actually hurts. It feels like pain in your back because you're tugging at your back, but your body is like preventing your back from slipping forward, right? So then it's like tense. So then
can you show that? Sorry, can you show that position again? Or how are you were sitting?
The bad one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we're like sitting, like even if I look pretty straight, but my tailbone is dumped back. Do you see that, Paulina?
Yes.
Then my hip flexor is short.
Yeah,
one of the hip flexors. There's many hip flexors, but one of them that attaches to my spine is short. So what happens when I stand up to get my drink of water or whatever, that shortened hip flexor muscle is tight, but my back muscles are long and loose, right? Like they're long and weak. They're not going to go back as fast, but I'm demanding them to. And then my hip flexor muscle, the one that's attached to my spine, like literally if you dug in me, it attaches from my femur to my spine. It's tight, but I'm trying to straighten up. So I'm gonna, it's so hard to straighten up because it's tugging on my back. So then
Yeah,
I
that
see
happens
other
to me.
people who are like, I can't stand up without feeling like an old lady. Hello, it's not old. It's because we're sitting a lot, right? Like
That
it has
happens
nothing to do with
me.
age.
Yes.
And then what happens is you get up and that hip flexor is probably still tight, it's tugging on your back, but your back is saying, no, 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 let's not slip that vertebrae forward. Don't worry, your body's not going to let you do that. So then what happens to these back muscles that you just lengthened? They're going to compensate. So they're going to try to go fast. Like Tanya said, they're trying to go back to fast to fire, but they're not good at it anymore because you've just sat and lengthened them. So then what happens? We get dysfunction, pain. It's just all imbalanced, right? Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. I'm just like, this is just, I see it all the time. And this is why I have this workshop, why I have the program that I have, is because that we can actually do something about it. We just need awareness and we just need the steps, right? So, gosh, we talked about a lot. Is there anything that you guys are itching to ask me before we finish with a final breath meditation practice together and say goodbye? Is there any question or clarification that you guys would like? And if you can't think of one now, you can message me later.
I have a question. Do you want me to type it or ask it?
Ask it. Yes.
So if we're having trouble connecting to our pelvic floor muscles, how long does that typically take? And I'm sure it's different for people, but is there like a range? Like how long does it take to actually regain that? And what are benefits of, making that connection?
Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack there. Basically, it's individual, right? Like it depends on how long you haven't been able to connect with it. It depends on what your health history would be, like whether you've had a C-section versus vaginal birth versus maybe you haven't had kids or you had a hysterectomy. Like it just really depends on what, I don't want to call it like trauma because it's not trauma, but like what has happened down there.
You can call it trauma. That's okay. For all women.
Kind of this negative, like that's how we had our babies, right? But but I want to say something here. I see female athletes that are in their teens, and some of them like giggle and stuff when I talk about pelvic floor, but then they're like, oh my God, like it actually, like it helped me. So like it just, I think that there's just it's just another muscle, but we need it. It's one of our foundational muscles.
So what is then like a path? Like what would you, if you were making improvements, what would you expect somebody to start to feel as they were on the journey? Like, if let's say, oh, you won't feel any improvement for like 6 months, based on trauma or whatever. When could you say, you know what, when you start to make that connection, this is how it's going to start to feel when that happens? Is that a better question? Because it's not like time specific.
Yeah, I think time specific is tough because it depends on, like I said, the history and then how, like your mindset, how frequent are you to bring awareness and practice and all those things, right? And then it's what was the main question did you say what are the benefits? Was that
I said, what are the benefits? But what I was asking about, like, because you can't really give a time question, like, how would you start to know, like, what are you going to start to experience when that connection starts to become stronger, so that you're like, oh, okay, this is helping. Like, this is what I'm starting to feel.
Mm-hmm. So that could be a whole other workshop. But to give you an idea, women that have been through working with me and in my program start to feel things like improvement in incontinence. So whether it's like, I hear this all the time. I can't jump on a trampoline. I can't run. I can't like play with my kids in the trampoline park, blah, 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 because I'll pee a bit or leak, or I just can't hold it. There's improvements on that end. And then there's also improvements in terms of like not having pain with sex. Again, this could be like a whole other workshop. And then there's even like some simple things like, oh, like one client in my program, she just graduated in late fall. She's like, I didn't realize that I was like pushing to pee. Like when I go to pee, I don't have to push anymore. I just like relax. Does that help, Tanya?
Yeah, it helps some. I guess it's just kind of like wondering if you actually feel something internally in the breathing, like do you feel that connection? And it
Yeah, and that is a whole, like, I could talk about that for another hour. Don't have time to get into that today, but that is like the meat and potatoes of like inner core, is being able to really connect to your pelvic floor, which is not just one muscle. Like the picture I showed you guys was just like a simple cartoon drawing. There's like layers there, and then it actually does have movement with our breath. And there's ways to like guide and trigger how to relax it if you tend to be too tight, or if you tend to be weak and not be able to access it, how to start to wake it up. So it's really about being able to access that area. But
that's what you cover in your program.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Because it
sounds like this needs to be a workshop.
Well, Carol, you're in the program. Maybe you could speak to it a little bit, if you don't mind.
Well, no, I'm just saying that, it is going to be a lot of work for people who don't have any awareness or don't feel any movement there. Definitely the program is going to help with that. But like you say, a workshop is also for people can step into, because I think no matter what age a woman's at, that the pelvic floor is important in so many ways. And I'm going to speak as somebody who's older. I'm going to be 70 this year. And every time you have a checkup, they say, do you pee when you sneeze? And so far, not yet. And I don't want to. So I really am appreciative of us working on those kind of things in the program. It does sound funny, but it's natural. And
Yeah.
if you can help,
yeah,
prolong that happening.
Totally.
Happening, then it's just a good thing to look after yourself that way.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm not laughing. I'm just laughing at we've just made it so normal, but it's so common, but it doesn't have to be our normal. Like sneezing and peeing and then having to change our underwear or wear a pad, like it does not have to be that way, right, Carol? Like Carol,
No.
you are very aware of your pelvic floor. You have such a great connection with it. Like, anyway, I hope that helps, Tanya. Like, I know you've had some struggles with it, but I also know that you can get there. It does take work, but it's for us, right? Like we work hard at so many other things in life. This is like our deepest foundation. This is our muscles. These are our deepest foundational muscles. I think I say this all the time, but if you build this beautiful house, the walls are going to come down if the foundation is not solid and strong and there. So it's the same as our bodies. We need that inner core, and part of the inner core is that pelvic floor. Sappy says, how to do a proper chin tuck. I don't really know. Do you mean like this kind of thing? I mean, maybe you were told to do chin tucks by a therapist at some point, Sappy. Can you maybe unmute, or can you give me more info so I can answer better if you're still there? I'm going to start to wrap things up soon because I want to be mindful of everyone's time. Yes, to maintain proper posture. Okay, so I don't love just saying do chin tucks, but again, having awareness of where your body is in space. I'll say this quickly. in general, your earlobe should be over the pointy part of your shoulder. So if you touch your own shoulder, everybody, there's like a bony part, right? Bony prominence. You kind of want your earlobe over that area-ish. If you feel like your earlobe is really far forward, that's where you need to do some chin tucks. If your ear is all the way back there for some reason, then you're not going to do chin tucks. You're going to try to straighten out your head. Does that answer your question? Sappy? So you kind of just want to chin tuck to where your ear is gonna, yes, okay, good. Amazing. Well, let's close our eyes. Let's stand. We haven't stood yet. Let's get out of our chairs. I'm gonna build you from the ground up. So close your eyes. Maybe march on the spot once or twice, okay? I'm wearing my cozy slippers. Here, maybe I'll do this so I don't cut off my head. And I just want you to feel your feet rooted in the ground, okay? 50-50 left to right. If you can, try to close your eyes and feel your feet, the arches of your feet, the grounding under you. If your arches feel really flat, like they're kissing the earth, can you lift all 10 toes and create some arch in your foot? And then relax your toes down, but keep the arches active. There's lots of layers of muscles in our feet too. And then I want you to feel your ankle joints, left to right. Then I want you to build your knee joint on top of your ankle joint. So in space, you want to stack your knee joint pretty much on top of that ankle joint. Then the middle of your hip joint should be on top of the knee joint, right? We're stacking like Lego. And hold your hips so that we're gonna rock them back and forth one more time and find that middle. Okay, we don't want to tuck under, right? We don't want to be tucked under because then we lose our lumbar curve, and we don't want to be over arching to get this like arch back. So we just want to find that happy medium, okay? And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you should sort of feel like the back hip bone, you know, those dimples in the back, they're kind of higher than the front hip bone. That's like a loose landing point, okay? And then the middle of your ribs, imagine your rib cage, right? It's like 3D, 360. The middle part from the profile is stacked over the middle of your hip. That pointy shoulder part that we were just talking about with the chin tucks, that pointy shoulder part should be over the middle of your rib-ish. And then your earlobe over the pointy shoulder part, right, Sappy? That earlobe over that pointy shoulder part. So if you need to chin tuck a touch to get it closer, go ahead. And then the top of your head, the middle of your head, like someone has a string is pulling you to the ceiling. But just because you're growing tall doesn't mean you change the stack that we just did. And then take a couple of breaths here to feel your 3-part breath in standing. So can you feel the belly rise? Rib cages expand and the chest puffing a little bit. And as you exhale, can you feel your chest soften? Rib cages coming down and in, and belly softening. We're gonna do 5 more breaths here, just in our standing neutral spine. And if your brain starts to wander, just pull it back to this anchor of breath. Say, thanks, brain, but I'm breathing right now. And just really stay here for 4 more breaths, okay? Just 4 breaths, focused on just your breath. In and out through that nose. Beautiful. When you are ready, you can flutter open your eyes. If you have time, I invite you to stay there and just continue your breath meditation, breath mindfulness. And yeah, just a reminder that I'm always here to help. and support you guys, you ladies. I'll hang out for another minute or two. If anyone has any more questions about breath and posture, I am hosting my master class this Thursday. I had it for Friday, but I moved it to Thursday because I forgot Friday. My kids are home, PD day here. So it's going to be Thursday at lunch-ish, 11:30. If you can come live for that, we'd love to see you live. Again, I can answer questions and stuff like that. It's a masterclass on 3 tips to alleviate back and neck pain. So if you can come, that would be awesome. Thursday at 11:30, I will send a post about it also in the group. And thank you so much for coming. You guys did great. So much participation, which I love. I loved all your questions. You guys were awesome. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Tatiana. Appreciate you.